Mardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. So we were discussing the 36th verse of the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And after showing the Vishwarupa, the universal form, Sri Krishna shows him. He, of course, bestowed upon him a special vision. Obviously, the others who had assembled on the battlefield could not see Krishna in that form. It's only Arjuna who could see it. And as we know, Sanjaya, who was describing the entire happenings that were taking place on the battlefield to Dhritarashtra. So Sanjaya was able to see. Dhritarashtra was able to hear. Obviously, he was blind, so he could not see. But this significance of this Vishwarupa is to instill in Arjuna's mind, or instill in Arjuna a clear concept of what Godhood really means. Godhood, or the concept of Ishvara, whether you call him the ruler of the universe. And in India, they say God just can't be a creator or controller of the universe. He's the destroyer as well. It looks absolutely strange to other cultures and other religions, especially the Semitic religions, who do not consider the destructive aspect of the Lord to be correct. They believe in God the Creator. At the most, they will believe the Lord whom they believe, whom they accept as their supreme, as one of the, he's not only the creator, but he's a ruler, as a king would rule his kingdom. But according to Hindu philosophy, according to Vedanta, or according to the Bhagavad Gita, that's an incomplete concept of God. God is supreme beyond all the things that we see. Then how do you explain what you see? Is the universe separate from God? The Vedanta doesn't believe in that. So if the universe is one with God, then we see creation of the gross universe, which is apparently visible to all of us, experienced by all of us. And we see that somehow there is some kind of order in the universe, though there is more disorder than order. But we don't realize that when that order is disturbed, he also has a capacity to destroy. So in one of the verses in the earlier chapter, Krishna said, when adharma prevails upon dharma, that is, the power of the evil or power of people who practice adharma, who do not follow any order in the universe, when that is preponderant, that increases, the Lord has to incarnate to maintain a balance. So all the prophets, all the incarnations that we see in history, whether we believe in the historical truth of those incarnations and prophets, have one purpose: to restore a semblance of order when there is too much of disorder. And modern physics also says that this universe by its very nature is uncertain. Why uncertain? Because of the uncertainty principle which was discovered by Schrödinger, who said, when we go deep into the microcosm or the universe, you may say the subatomic universe, just as when you go and see the whole cosmos, in which we are tiny particles, if you see the whole cosmos, galaxies and all, we do not know what our position in that is. It is so overwhelming. And that is what was shown to Arjuna, that don't think this creation is a simple thing. It's a very complex entity. Plus, it's incomprehensible to most of us, no matter how intelligent we are. We don't even know many things about ourselves. Forget the galaxies and the other universes that we see through our telescope. So also when you go into the microcosm and into the subatomic world, there is equal uncertainty there. And in the midst of harmony, there is chaos. Chaos or disorder leads to death or destruction, and harmony again reconstructs from those destructed elements. That is what science, to put in brief, this order and chaos is mixed up in the subatomic universe. That's what science has discovered, but it is still a preliminary step of understanding the true nature of reality. But Vedanta, fortunately, tells us that you cannot choose one aspect of reality and be happy with that. Because when the other aspect of reality confronts you, you get perturbed. You start disbelieving that God or disbelieving that reality. You want God to all fulfill your desires, fulfill your fulfill His promises, or maybe what you expect from Him. But at the same time, when the gross universe is destroyed, you feel panic. So Hinduism or Vedanta offers a very comprehensive view of truth. And that is what this 11th chapter is all about. It's not just some vision which was given by Krishna to Arjuna, though we would like to dismiss it as such, but it has a deep philosophical significance. Because Arjuna learns his lessons. He was, like most of us, extremely engaged or involved in the world. He had his own idea of dharma, adharma, and he was fighting for the sake of dharma. And Sri Krishna encourages him, because he says wherever adharma prevails, when the forces of evil prevail, the forces of good are rallied by this Ishvara. He takes birth, he takes an incarnation. It's not just in Hinduism. Nowhere it is mentioned that incarnations are part of the Hindu culture. All incarnations, any divine being or divine person who takes you towards God, who takes you towards more and more towards the spirit, and tries to create more and more order in our life, he is following the path of dharma. Following the path of dharma is following order. Following the path of adharma is following chaos. So when Heisenberg, when he proposed, he said, I was surprised when, if you just try to explain that Heisenberg's uncertainty principle in a very layman's language, he found, after scientific investigation, he had nothing to do, maybe he had read a little bit of Upanishads, but I don't think that influenced his theory. The uncertainty principle that he saw, he tried to predict, tried to give some kind of predictability to the happenings in the subatomic world. As we see in the normal world around us, Newton formulated certain laws, that the law of cause and effect, for example, if there is a force, equal force, if there is a certain force, you'll see certain effects. So all the three laws of motion work perfectly well in the universe that we see. But when objects move at very high velocity, the modern physicists found that Newton's law do not work. They apparently work in this system, in the gross system, but when you go at a subtle level, they don't work. They find there is so much of chaos. You can't predict the position of an electron or even an atom within certain things. They are apparently moving at fantastic speeds, crisscrossing each other. There seems to be no order. So that's why he framed the famous theory, or maybe proved the theory, that things in the universe are not as certain as we would like to see them, as we see in the gross universe. Science thought that the gross science, the gross physical sciences, they thought we are perfect, because if we know the causes, like a doctor knows, if the causes are known, if the cure is known, then everything will work according to his planning. But even there we see, in the gross universe also, we see uncertainty. People with the best treatment sometimes die. People with the absolutely no treatment or less treatment, they somehow survive. So there is no certainty either in physical sciences or medical sciences, neither in economics. Nobody can predict what will happen. So uncertainty is there. But science thinks that they can bring some order with the help of science, with the help of economics, with the help of planning properly, with the help of advances in medical treatment. Certain amount of predictability can be there. But as these verses in the 11th chapter point out, Sri Krishna is not intending to confuse Arjuna. He knows he will be shocked after the end of this Vishwarupa. First, he was discouraging him, said, you will not be able to understand the import of my real nature. But he still wanted to see. He said, I want to see your Vishwarupa, universal form. He said, it will be very hard for you to see, as it will be very hard for us also if we have a particular concept of God who is kind, who is benevolent. That's what we were always told. We were never told the truth. We always believed that God was kind to us. The reality is always kind to us. He is kind to us, but in what sense? In the gross universe, he may be destructive. So destruction of the gross does not mean that he is not kind. Maybe he wants to give something more subtle to you. So there is this discrepancy which Arjuna perhaps noticed, and he said, I am confused. After 10 chapters, he's still confused. And Krishna had to deliver more verses, explain to him in another 8 chapters about the true reality. So I don't think after this 11th chapter, his doubts were cleared. But at least this vision gave him some idea of what the real nature of Ishvara or God, or the God which is manifest in this universe is. That which is transcendental, maybe to a certain extent he understood after the 2nd chapter. But then he was confused because he said, if that is the truth, what am I doing here? Why are you asking me to fight? If duality is if you have to go beyond duality, then why don't you teach me directly to just leave this battlefield and just escape from this and get moksha? So again, Arjuna had to be told by Krishna in the 3rd chapter, no, why should he work? Why should he pass through all those things? Because in his case, because of his training and because of his samskaras, because of his karma, he had to undergo all the training. The karma yoga that was part of the 3rd chapter and the 4th chapter and all the other yogas, dhyana and all, they were not just something which Krishna used to convince Arjuna. He didn't want. First, he told him the reality in the 2nd chapter, how to transcend this universe. But he said, no, in your case, don't jump and try for, you will not be able to attain moksha even if you want to, or nirvana, or freedom from this gross universe. You have to slowly, gradually go from gross to subtle, subtle to more subtle, and then finally, when the end of the 18th chapter comes, you will find he is giving a complete solution, step-by-step solution to Arjuna. So as part of that solution, the 11th chapter is just some kind of explanation, not a complete explanation, because we will see the 36th verse and other things, and the other verses that follow, slowly he is unfolding the truths. He knows if I tell everything at the same time, Arjuna will get confused. Even after that, after delivering the whole message of the Gita so closely, as a friend, as a guru, as somebody who was so close to Arjuna, even then he doesn't remember. And towards the end of his life, he says, you told me some wonderful things during the war. Can you please repeat? So Krishna says, what did I do? Did I waste my time? 18 chapters, I gave you so many verses, so many ideas. You don't remember anything. He remembered, obviously, but he just wanted to hear. So then he said, okay, now I will give you the gist in the small Gita, which is known as Anu Gita, which is of a very, very small condensed form of this Gita. He said, this much is sufficient for you now. And this had happened at the end of his life. Arjuna had grown old, he had almost retired. But anyway, here, the 36th verse says, Rishikesha means that is the name of Krishna. The world is delighted. He saw on one side many people, evil people being gobbled, being killed. So Sri Krishna, we saw those chapters, or we saw those verses in this chapter earlier, where Arjuna sees how the Lord is destroying, how he is protecting some, and he gets confused. And he says, Arjuna now says, addresses, after he saw everything, he would just wants to Krishna to go back to his normal form, because it is so overwhelming that he doesn't want to know the reality. He says, the world is delighted on one side, the rishis, the sadhakas, the upasakas, they're all singing, they're delighted and they rejoice in your praise. They're with their stuti. And the Rakshasas, or the evil people, Rakshasas are not demigods or maybe any type of creatures. They are just human beings with evil tendencies. So they are all running in all directions. And hosts of siddhas are also bowing down to you. So there's one category where there are good people who are delighted, who like to praise you. There are others who are afraid of you because they have seen, perhaps they are aware of the terrible side of you. And there are other siddhas who know you in essence, and they are bowing down to you. So all the three categories are approaching you. So it is something similar to a village person. To make it very simple, if we consider a rural person who is new to a city, very complicated mechanic, he's just overwhelmed. He sees a huge factory with machines. He has never seen even a cycle in his village. Maybe just imagine a situation. If such a person, like most of us are with relation to the real nature of God, we are all like pygmies in spirituality. We have yet to understand it. Arjuna was at least very lucky that Sri Krishna showed him that universal form. Vishwarupa is something which is very important. It's not a very simple thing. The whole 11th chapter is full of wonderful and deep knowledge. It's not just something. There is a tendency in some of the students of Gita, is that, all this is all sorts of imagery. Let us just skip. Let us go to the philosophy. But this is part of the philosophy. It's not something which we can just brush aside. Truth cannot be brushed aside. It may be good, it may be pleasant, it may be harsh. So Sri Krishna deliberately showed, because he knew Arjuna was capable of watching all this. He was a very accomplished person. He knew the consequences of war. He knew what he's in for. He knew the terrible struggle that will be there, the people who will be killed, so many things. But at the same time, he was not aware that Lord is behind all this. The Lord is behind the good, Lord is behind the bad, and it is all this Leela which is going on, the drama of life which was unfolding to him. So it is something like a rural rustic who is very happy with his natural surroundings. He does a little bit of work, he gets enough to eat. And if that person, if you force him to come to a very big city with all complications, with the gigantic machinery and industries and cars and very complicated things which he has never seen, aeroplanes and rockets and all those things. If he is suddenly introduced to that, what would be the condition? It's something similar to what Arjuna must have faced. He knows the techniques of war, he knows human behavior, he knows whom he has to defeat, whom he has to fight. He knows everything. Worldly wise, he is very wise, he is very intelligent, he is a very capable person. But when it comes to spirituality, he never knew all these things. And suddenly he is confronting this, like an innocent rural person would confront a big city. Suddenly he is forced to come to a city. And he would look at all the machines at work as if they are all magnificent, they're huge machines. Maybe he thinks, is it magic or is it true? But when he gets educated, when he understands, when the spiritual truths are revealed to a person, then he is not confronted or confused by the concept of Ishvara that has been described by Sri Krishna in this 11th chapter. Similarly, he would see that oh, after all, this is not a miracle. These are all sciences that advanced society has developed. The car is not a miracle, neither is the rocket. Everything that appeared to him in the beginning to be miraculous, just as Arjuna saw this Vishwarupa. For the Lord, it is simple. He says it's just another level of truth. Till now, you had not been exposed to it. That's why you are getting confused. So Arjuna's vision of this cosmic form of the Ishvara is something similar to this, just a crude example. So the Rakshasas or the evil people are those who are ignorant of the working of the Lord. What is the difference between Rakshasas and Devas? They are human beings. Both of them are human beings, absolute human beings. There's nothing. That's why one should not read a literal meaning into all our Puranas. Even the Puranas, they are not stories just as we have Superman and so many things, imaginary things. They are of course, they are myths, but to be with a deep meaning, inherent meaning. So what are these Rakshasas? They are the ones who are ignorant about the working of the universe or the working of Ishvara. Because they don't care. They don't want to know. They don't even make an attempt. At least Arjuna is making an attempt, asking questions. Maybe it is on the battlefield, but still he has the patience to listen to his friend, philosopher, and guide, and also the Lord himself. He wants to know. Till now, nobody explained to me. Till now, I was just expert in developing my skills. All my gurus taught me. Obviously, they also taught him dharma, but perhaps people don't take it seriously. Obviously, in those days, the education system was complete. It's not that he was just trained to fight. Maybe as a Kshatriya, he was trained to fight, but he was given the wisdom. He knew what dharma is, he knew what adharma is. Why Arjuna? Duryodhana himself says, I know what dharma is, because the teacher was the same. Dronacharya taught them. He didn't just teach them military warfare and other things. He also taught him politics, the art of administration. He also taught him how to rule a kingdom. He also taught civic and other values. It was part of the education. And above all, if one was really trained as a student by a competent guru, he would have also given him, taught him the spiritual side of life. Because they were full of desires, they might have ignored it in their childhood. But the theoretical knowledge was always there. And that's why Duryodhana tells Krishna, see, I knew what dharma is. I knew I was making mistakes, but I could not prevent myself from doing it. The same thing with Yudhishthira and other brothers. Though they had the best of education, they did not have full knowledge of spirituality. So here, the Siddhas, on one hand, are the Rakshasas, another hand, the Devas. Devas are not very far superior than the Rakshasas. Rakshasas are evil people, like Duryodhana, you can say, who know what is right, what is wrong, but they go on the wrong path. Devas also know what is right, what is wrong. They follow the right path, but at the same time, they are also attached to this world and all the pleasures. So that's why they constantly lose. You see, all the myths, if you read the Puranas, very often the Devas, because of excessive enjoyment, they lose the battle with these Asuras, or maybe Rakshasas or Asuras. There are different names for them. Because they are more powerful, though they are evil. And when they lose, they run to Vishnu or the Lord to protect them, and then they have to come. So that is the story for most of us. Good people are not necessarily strong. Evil people can be stronger than the good people, but unfortunately their end is, they have to pay for it. They may temporarily succeed, but they have to pay for it. But there is another third category. That is why we see here he says of Devas, Asuras, or Devas and Rakshasas. On one side, Devas are admiring him, admiring Vishnu, admiring Ishvara, the Vishwarupa Darshana, the subtle Devas, the different noble people are aspiring him, not for understanding who the Lord is or who Krishna is or who the Lord's, what is the real nature of Ishvara, but they are praising him because they have some desires, they want some benefits. So it's not that they are, of course, they are noble, they don't do any evil. Whereas the other Rakshasas are running away with fear because they have done so much of evil in their life that they are afraid the retribution will come. God will come and punish them. So they are afraid. So the two categories Arjuna shows. Arjuna sees. And Sri Krishna shows him another group of people who are neither Devas nor Asuras. They are more spiritually oriented. They are Siddhas. So he says the Siddhas are also bowing down to you. They are not praising you because they don't expect anything from you. All they want is they know your glory. They know what you are capable of giving them. And that's why they are praying to you to bestow upon them the spiritual truths or the spiritual treasure which you can give. You can give Devas what they want. You can punish the Rakshasas or Asuras because of their misdeeds. You have all these powers, but there's one more power which Siddhas want. They are not bothered. They want to know your real nature. They neither side themselves with Devas or Rakshasas. They are Siddhas. So, the knowing devotees or the knowing people who know a little bit of the glory of the God, they admire his creation. They are good, but at the same time, they are just admiring Prakriti, not the Purusha. They just want some benefits from. They want their life a little easier. Nothing wrong in that. And they praise because they feel by praising the Lord, our life will be easy. So it's definitely better than the Rakshasas. The perfected ones alone, Krishna says, they are the yogis and siddhas. They pay their reverence. They don't expect anything, any gross benefits from the Lord, but they understand the cosmic functions and they want eternal benefit from the Lord. They said for the small things, we have had enough of those experiences. We have had enough of luxury and other things like the Devas. But now we want something higher. That's why we are coming to you. Sri Ramakrishna in the Gospel says so beautifully. He says, Ishvara is neutral. The question was asked to him by some of the devotees, Brahmo devotees. Why is he so partial to some people? Why does he not give spiritual knowledge to all? He says, depending on the stage of evolution, everybody has a role and accepts the Ishvara in his own way. He says, all the people that you see in the world are variously related to Ishvara. The rishis means the siddhas, are his kith and kin. So if you feel closeness with the Lord, some kind of relationship, that I don't ask you as a servant would ask his master or somebody would ask the king for some favors, I don't consider you to be a king. You may be the ruler of the universe, but I don't want any benefit. I have enough strength within me to meet my daily needs. I don't want you to supply me with this and that and hundreds of things. I can ask you bigger gifts. So, spiritual advanced people just want his companionship. Why? Because they want to know the higher truth. So this, Sri Ramakrishna says, and of course the evil people don't care for him because they think on their own strength, they can get what they want. That is why it is always shown that these evil people seem to win because they have confidence in themselves. They don't depend on God, whereas these devas always seem to lose. But because they persisted in doing good and noble deeds, they will one day come to a state where they will become like these siddhas. So then we come to the next verse, 37. He says, Kasmacha tena nameran mahatman gariyase brahmano api adi kartre ananta devesha jagan nivasa tvamaksharam sad asat param yat. So what he means is, and why should they not? Kasmat, why they will not prostrate to you, O Lord. This is still Arjuna speaking. He said, why will they not prostrate before you? Because there is no greater person in this universe other than you. At least he has understood after this Vishwarupa. It's not that he accepted. Most of the time he forgot that Krishna, he thought Krishna was just a friend, a philosopher and some guide who would help him. But when Sri Krishna reveals, now he understands and he tries to praise him. Not like the Devas, but he like the Siddhas. He says, I know, why will they not? They means the Devas not praise you? Because you are greater than Brahma. Brahma is a creator. So the all-comprehensive Ishvara is not only the creator, but sustainer and destroyer. So he's the sum total. Brahma can do one aspect of creation or one aspect of truth. You can understand by creation, but creation is not everything. After creation, there is a sustenance. There are the creation has to be maintained. And when things don't go right, they have to be destroyed. So that is a procedure which you see followed everywhere in the created world. So he says, Brahma is, you are far superior than Brahma, because Brahma creates and then he's out of it. His job is to create. I mean, that aspect of the Lord is 1/3. Then we have maintaining the whole order in the universe, trying to give the good people their due, the bad people their karma. So he is also known as Karma Dhyaksha. Ishvara is a Karma Dhyaksha, not as a ruler who is outside, but he is in and through us. We should not blame. It is because of our actions that we get what we deserve. So we have to pray to him. We have to do good actions. We have to pray to him. That is why he says, you are the primal cause and you are Ananta, that is the infinite being. You're not finite. Brahma is finite. Vishnu is finite. And so also Shiva or Maheshwara is finite in that sense, in the gross sense. But as reality, they are all infinite. So also you are Vishnu, but incarnation of Vishnu, but that is part of your real nature. You are far superior than that. You are the infinite. Adi Kartre, you are the primal cause. Jagan Nivasa, Lord of the gods. Devesha, Ananta Devesha, Jagan Nivasa. Tvam Aksharam, you are imperishable. All that you see is perishable. But Sat or pure existence, pure consciousness never perishes. But you are also non-being. Non-being in what sense? Sat, Asat, that Param you are. You are that infinite which cannot be called as Sat. Sat in the limited sense. Because the moment you try to catch the Sat, suddenly it vanishes. That's what Heisenberg principle of uncertainty is. He tried to explain, he said, the moment you try to catch the subatomic particles, they appear to be here, you try to measure its velocity, and then suddenly it vanishes. Something, he says, oh, just now I saw it, it was here. So that peculiar or that phenomena which we say, it's neither Sat in the created sense, neither Asat. If it has disappeared into a black hole, the many universes, Swamiji spoke to Tesla, the scientist Tesla, who was fascinated by the Sankhya theory. And in those days, the idea of black hole was not so, not proved. But they knew there is something in the universe, some big galaxies are just disappearing. Where do they go? And where do they, suddenly they appear to just come out with a big bang. So they are known as multiverses. They are not just universes. There's no universe as such. The scientists, the astronomers, or maybe you can say the astrophysicists will call this as a multiverse. Because one galaxy itself, if you consider to be a universe, it disappears and from the black hole, another galaxy or another universe emerges. So this phenomena is explained here that he is the creator, he is the maintainer, he is the destroyer, but it's not destroyed eternally because his nature is eternal. It's not destroyed for good. Temporarily asat, it has become asat. It does not exist. But at the same time, it is Sat. When it's manifest, it is Sat. When it vanishes, it is Asat. So this phenomena was showed to Arjuna by Krishna. And that is why he is praising him. Even though he has not fully understood it, he at least intellectually has understood that you are Asat, neither Asat nor Sat. And you are the supreme. So, abode of the universe, you are the imperishable, you are being and non-being, and you are the supreme. So, the enlightened ones or the Siddhas whom we referred to, they know of this aspect of Ishvara. Others know him as creators. Some of them don't like, they know anyway the creation has started. So, let us pray to Vishnu who maintains this universe. Just let him let him help us to lead our life smoothly. We don't want any crisis or anything. But then there are some who also worship Shiva, who know that he is the Lord of destruction. So in a way, they know that even if he destroys the gross, he gives you light, he gives you consciousness, he gives you subtle. He takes you from the gross to the subtle. What is destroyed is at the gross level. So Ishvara, the Siddhas know the true nature of Ishvara. He is also known as Mahatma, means all are Atmas, we are all Atmas. He is a Mahatma because he is the greatest soul, he is the soul of our souls. We are limited souls with all deficiencies, but he is the infinite soul. He is Ananta because he transcends time, space, and causation. You see, Swamiji is in his talks on Maya, in Maya and Illusion, which he delivered in Piccadilly. He delivered a series of lectures on Maya because it's a very confusing word in Indian philosophy. So he explained it as Maya is which puts you in time, space, and causation. So one of the adjectives of the Lord is Kala, because Kala destroys everything. Kala destroys, time destroys everything. Whatever we hold dear, the near and dear ones, the things that we appreciate in life, everything is destroyed when Kala prevails. So the Lord is beyond Kala. That is why they say beyond, he is known as Ananta because he is transcending time, space, and causes. The word infinite is very difficult to understand. And now these Siddhas have understood this because they want to realize him as Ananta, as Jagan Nivasa, the abode of the universe. They know that without the Lord, we have no permanent abode. We may have palaces, we may have our own abodes, but they all can be destroyed like all other things. And that is one of the most important aspects of this 11th chapter. People just ignore this, as I told you, but they just want to skip this because there are many unpleasant things. So you can't brush aside the unpleasant truths. It is not so easy. If you want good things from God, you have to accept the unpleasant things at a grosser level. But the wise people, he says, they don't want anything good or bad. They just want the transcendental aspect. So that is why you see this verse is very important. Arjuna knows or he sees that on one side are the gods, other side are the asuras or the rakshasas, and third Siddhas. All are worshipping him. Each one wants something different. Each one sees the Vishwarupa in a different way. Gods, though they are very noble, they have done good work, they want all the pleasures and other things of life. But, as I again repeat, why in Puranas the battle is always lost by gods and then they have to go to Vishnu to save them? You see, any Purana if you take, the evil people win. The Rakshasas or the Asuras win because they are, they are stronger in the gross sense. They are focused more on the gross, whereas the Devas are not as strong as the Asuras on the physical level, but mentally they are strong. They know they are little wise. So there is a chance that Devas, after they get disillusioned with all the wealth and all the things, they may become Siddhas. So it is a stage. From Tamas you go to Rajas. From Rajas you finally go to Sattva. That is how these three categories are described here. And the Lord shows all Ishvara, Krishna shows all the three aspects, and Arjuna is wise to understand. At least he knows that why three categories are here. Siddhas are worshipping him. Siddhas are the real worshippers. He says they want the Ananta aspect, the aspect of transcending of time, space, and causation, which we can see in the Lord. They don't want the creative aspect because they know once something is created, it will be destroyed. Siddhas are wise. They are wise. They see the drama of life and they know that if we run after created things, what in the end, time will destroy everything. So he's Kala. So you have to go beyond Kala. He's beyond space because space will limit everything. He's beyond space. So he's Ananta in that sense also. And also causation. We don't want the fruits of our karma to come back to us. Not that we want only the good fruits to come, though it is wishful thinking. We can't even say we just have to do good because by doing good we cancel the effects of the bad and then nothing remains. Thakur explained the same thing in a very beautiful parable. He said, one thorn you take, if one thorn is hurting you, you take another thorn, try to remove it, and then throw away both the thorns. So that is what the Siddhas do. They see Devas, they are trying to remove, they are of course the good thorn. They are trying to remove the bad thorn, which is suffering caused by evil actions. They remove it, but then the Siddhas don't stop. They said, we don't want either of them. We want the good thorn just to remove. Once that is removed, we want to go beyond the thorn. We want painlessness. So the law of cause and effect, or in brief, it is known as karma theory. Karma theory we have to transcend. So that is why Arjuna is praising that you are beyond all these things. You are Jagannivasa. Just like the waves are in the ocean. Ocean is the abode of the waves. Waves are not everything. So also, Brahma, he says, you are far superior to Brahma because Brahma can just create. Then he has no control over that. He is the immanent aspect of Ishvara. But we want to go beyond that. For the convenience, we can, convenience in the sense for understanding what this Brahma or creator is. No doubt it's an aspect of Ishvara. What does Brahma related to us? For convenience, we may think he is a sum total of all jivas. Because he has created not only me, but created other jivas, so many jivatmas, insects, plants, everything he has created. So Brahma is a creator of not only me, but I can't ignore that he has also created others. So if we are wise, we can't have a selfish universe where I'm just bothered about myself. I don't bother about other creation because the same Brahma which created me has created the other fellow. So the waves may think that we are a big wave, another wave is a small wave, but they are all nothing compared to the ocean. So all the waves put together is the ocean. So Krishna has understood that. And the manifest aspect of what we see as universe is only Sat that we see. But he is Asat because if you remove that, if you enter the black hole, all the galaxies, when you see, where is the universe? It has just gone, disappeared. Does it really disappear? No, because it stays in potential form in these black holes and another universe is created. So these multiverses are explained by this. So, but he is Akshara. He is beyond all this. So the Lord is not only the immanent reality, the word that we see. We can't say he is not here. He is there. He is in our pain. He is in our suffering. He is in our little joys. But he is not that. That is the result of causation. That is part of causation. But time, space, no matter how long we live, it has to end one day, the physical existence. Maybe subtle existence will last longer till you become a Siddha. But you can't remain Deva for long. You know, they say there is a concept that one Deva, the Lord of Devas who is Indra, these are all human beings. There's nothing Deva or Indra Loka. Maybe it's good for comics and mythological magazines. But They are all simple truths dealing with the day-to-day characters that we see around us. So there is a so-called ruler of this. Even the Devas have their ruler, who is also limited, whose rule is limited. So they don't say Indra is Indra permanently. He will lose his place. After a certain time, this Indra will lose, and then Devas themselves will dismiss him and then say, we'll appoint another Indra. So even that is temporary. So also with the evil people. So for this reason, Arjuna says, you are beyond this. I won't categorize you as either Brahma or either Vishnu or Shiva or Maheshwara. You are beyond that. You are the Lord in your infinite aspect. But here you have to remember that in the infinite aspect, behind Brahma is the same, the transcendental aspect of Brahma, the transcendental aspect of Vishnu, and transcendental aspect of Maheshwara, or the one who destroys. It's the same. So as transcendental Brahman, there's no difference. But when they come, they play their respective roles. So the glories of the Lord, which he has just been shown a few glories by Krishna in the Vishwarupa, first 35 verses, he's just shown the positive side, the negative, destructive side, where he's gobbling up all the enemies who are dying in this battle. And then he says, no, just stop it now. I don't want to see more. So then he comes to the transcendental aspect. So then he sees that who are these Siddhas? I mean, this is just to motivate Arjuna that you don't aspire to become a Deva, or of course not because he's fighting on the side of Dharma. Don't aspire to become a Rakshasa or an Asura. Don't try to be evil. But even your goal should not be just to become a Deva and enjoy power in heaven. No, you cannot, because even in this world, even if you become the emperor of the world, one day Kala will come and finish you. So then what should you do? Then follow these Siddhas. So the sadhaka, he says, these are different stages. From adharma, you go to dharma. From dharma, in the last verse, last chapter, he says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. He could have told this earlier, but then Arjuna will not fight. Not only will he not fight, he will neither, just by giving up his dharma, he would go into adharma actually. He would be encouraging adharma. He says, fight, but then at the end realize that after all this fighting is over, after you are become wiser through experience of the events that have happened before and after the war, and after the end of your life, you have to give up the dharma that I am asking you to follow now. You follow your swadharma, you follow it, but then you have sarva dharman parityajya. In the 18th chapter, he gives him the real advice. He said, one day you will understand, you will even have to give up that dharma and then just pray to the Lord or take surrender in the Lord, in which the Siddhas have done here. So then he is so much impressed by this wonderful vision and the wonderful ideas. By Krishna's grace only he has got all these things. But now he is slowly understanding the transcendental aspect. In the beginning, he was just a friend, but then slowly Krishna revealed his different aspects. And then he revealed the Vishwarupa. Before Vishwarupa, he showed his Vibhuti Yoga. He just gave a glimpse of the different powers that the Lord had. And we come to the 11th chapter where he now shows his real form, but that is also partial. And even this is overwhelming Arjuna. He has not understood. Otherwise, if he had understood, he would not have fought the war, or he would have been a realized soul. But he is appreciating the Siddhas because he knows they are on the right path. But it will take some time for me to reach there. So he says, Tamadi Deva, that with this verse we will end. We'll explain it in the next. But this is a very important verse. There are some verses in the Gita which can be used as a prayer in our day-to-day life. In fact, there is a nice book by Swami Sarvasthananda, who selected 100 verses from all these 18 chapters, because 700 is too much. So he felt that even if you do repeat the 100 verses, very selected in one of these verses, is taken from this chapter as well. It's taken from almost all the chapters, the key verses. So this can be called as the key verse from this chapter, where he says, where Arjuna now, after getting surprised and after getting overwhelmed with all the different aspects, now his confusion is going away and he's coming to some conclusion which is good. So the Lord is revealing himself slowly. Tamadi Deva. Now this is Arjuna's version, what he's experiencing now. Tamadi Deva Purusha Purana Tvamasya Vishwasya Param Nidhanam Vetasi Vedyam Cha Param Cha Dhama Tvaya Tatam Vishwam Ananta Rupaha. So now we will not discuss this verse. I'll just give you the meaning. Tvam Adi Deva, you are the primal God. This is slightly a better description of what he has understood of the supreme Vishwarupa that Krishna showed him than the previous verse. So that is why it is important. Now his intellect, his buddhi is getting purer and more subtle. So he's getting a better idea. So he says, you are the primal God, Tvam Adi Deva. Because you're not Brahma, you're not Vishnu, or you are just the primal God, the source, or Brahman himself. The ancient Purusha. Now this is from Sankhya. According to Sankhya, Purusha is the original conscious principle in our life. Prakriti is that which changes and creates this universe, and then to get rid of suffering, you have to pray, go back to that state of Purusha with the help of Prakriti. That is the essence of all our mantras, Gayatri and all other mantras. We reverse the process. If we get involved in Prakriti, then suffering comes. And to get rid of suffering, again you use Prakriti, which is nothing but in a condensed form is the Bija mantra. No matter how much Prakriti has deluded you, the Bija will help you. It breaks all the ignorances or the ignorance that is created by her, because if she has created it, she can destroy. If something we have created, then nobody else can destroy. It is she who has created this ignorance through her avidya maya. So Sri Ramakrishna gives us this wonderful concept of Prakriti leads you to the Purusha. Purusha in the sense pure consciousness. So he's saying, addressing him not as Prakriti, not as creator, not as maintainer of this universe, so not as one who destroys. So he says, Purusha Purana Tvam Asya Vishwasya Param Nidhanam. You are the greatest refuge. And you are the knower and the knowable. See, you are the one who knows, who are the Purusha, but at the same time, you are also the knowable as Prakriti, because you have created this illusion and the supreme abode, Param Nidhanam. This universe is pervaded by you. Tvaya Tatam. Tatam means pervaded. So wherever you see that Lord. It's you who we are seeing, but out of ignorance, we are calling it Prakriti. But you are the Purusha, O being of infinite form. Ananta Rupa. Now he is saying Ananta Rupa because not in the infinite sense beyond cause. Now I am seeing you in different forms. I see you in front of my eyes. Here you are showing your wonderful form, benevolent form. Here you are showing that how you are protecting, and here at the same time you are destroying on one side. And people are running away from you, terrified by your terrible aspect. So I see you of different forms. You are none of these forms, you are beyond the forms because you are the supreme abode. But that vision will come to me when I become a Siddha. At least he has understood that he is not a Siddha now. He is trying to find out what he is in this whole scheme of life. Because Krishna has told him that you have to fight, there is no other way, you have to fight. And you have to follow this dharma. But at the same time, after this is 11th chapter, 12, 13, 14 different aspects he will explain. And in the 18th chapter, he will say you have to renounce everything. So if there are some questions, you can. So we'll discuss this 38th verse in our next class, that is that will be held after, next week. Obviously there will be Vedanta. It's always alternate. You see, now for convenience, we are not sending out messages on WhatsApp as far as possible. People have to get used to it. If they just go to our website, everything will be clear. That much pain they have to take if they are interested. Obviously, if they are interested. Yeah, everything is there on the website. So links, YouTube. If you miss out, you can see it later. Whatever it is. Yeah.
Swami Vivekananda gave a talk in San Francisco, and the line is the sign of life is strength and growth. The sign of death is weakness.
Yes.
Whatever is weak, avoid. It is death. It is strength. Go down into hell and get hold of it.
Exactly.
There is salvation only for the brave. So the question is, if asuras are strong and they have strength, so it's good to be asuric if it gives you strength rather than being a deva and being a weak.
Yeah, this is a bit difficult concept to understand. In fact, when Swami Vivekananda was asked, he preferred strength to goodness. Strength first, goodness later. It may be difficult to understand because a person who is strong, ultimately his goodness, he will be able to transcend the cycle of good and bad. So good and bad is all relative things. But what Swami Vivekananda meant is not to become evil, but if one has strength, then why Swami Vivekananda? Bhagavad Gita, if you have attended the previous classes, in one place he will say, of course, it has not come. It will come in the chapter on Bhakti Yoga, and other chapters will explain that. He said, even if an evil person worships me, that means knows the truth behind this universe, he will, with strength, obviously, one who wants to worship, or one who gets a chance to worship, or one who can hold on to the Lord, the Supreme Brahman, whether he is good or bad, he has taken a right decision. That's also a very controversial verse, very difficult to understand. Why is Krishna saying that? I am a good person. I may not be, I have a lot of desires in life. I want a luxurious life. Everything is, but I am good. I have not done any crime. He may feel he is far superior than another person, like Girish Ghosh, for example. Why did Thakur Sri Ramakrishna bless him? It is because of his strength of faith he had. Not that we have to become like this, but he took the right decision. And there were many good people who out of weakness did not do any bad action, but at the same time were not spiritual. They were intensely attached. Their goodness, the things that they got from their goodness, they were so attached they had no time for God. Whereas sometimes, you see, that is what Sri Ramakrishna's life out. If you read in depth, you will find why did he favor Girish Ghosh? No person would justify all his actions that he did. Why? Because when he realized that what he is doing is wrong, or what he is doing, he found the solution, he just grabbed it. So in that sense, even in Swami Vivekananda says, there's a wonderful poem, Milton. He wrote Paradise Lost. Many people criticized him for writing that poem. Milton is a famous poet who lived in Cambridge. So in Milton's Paradise Lost, Swami Vivekananda says, I had great respect for the character of Satan. Everybody will be surprised if they read this in Swamiji's complete works. It's very difficult to understand. But the truth behind it is, as perhaps Milton would have tried to express it, Swamiji could read behind that. In fact, even in the Ramayana, there is another poet who used to come to Sri Ramakrishna. He's a Bengali poet, but got converted to Christianity. But he was Michael Madhusudan Dutt. If you see his life, he also wrote a poem where he glorified Indrajit. Indrajit, is the son of Ravana. Obviously, how can you glorify? He fought against Rama. But using the same idea of Milton's Paradise Lost, where he says, if it is strength, the quote which the questioner has asked, if it gives you strength, go to hell and get it. What does it mean? Doesn't mean that you have to do evil actions. Even an evil person, if he's strong, as Krishna tells in this, some subsequent chapter will come, and people will be surprised to know. He says, even if an evildoer worships me, he will come to me. A good person may not come. So our idea of good is, we want to be good. Why? Not out of strength, but out of weakness. We are good because we can't. Swamiji was more frank. He said, see, we are good because we don't have the strength to do evil things. That doesn't mean he's saying that you have to do evil things. That's a wrong reading of what he says. But he says, I admire that person, like Girish Ghosh, for example. Though he was not afraid to confess that he had done bad things. But he wanted to get rid of it. And he said, can you solve my problem? And he surrendered and he said, you take the power of attorney, do whatever you like. That kind of self-surrender did not come to good devotees. They were too selfish. They were too attached to their wealth and other things. They did not sacrifice. Whereas Girish, you see, he had nothing to lose. There's not a single crime which he had not committed. But why did Thakur save him? Why did Sri Ramakrishna save him? Exactly the same reason why here we'll see Krishna telling that it doesn't matter what you are. Even, he says very clearly, even if the evildoer worships me, worships him in the right way, not for asking God's support to do more evil things. If he worships me in the true sense, which Arjuna now realizes in the 11th chapter, from the Vishwarupa he has seen that the Siddhas just want to worship him. They are the true spiritual people. They may be apparently less popular than the Devas, who are very virtuous, very rich. They are so much, but still Arjuna, Sri Krishna is giving them a higher place, the Siddhas. They neither want the power and position of the Devas like Indra, neither, definitely they don't want to be like the Asuras. They don't want to be evil people. But they want to know the true nature. So one who worships the Lord, in essence, as Arjuna is now slowly in verse number 38, he's coming to the conclusion that this is the form of the Lord. I think I am now slowly understanding. You showed me on one side all the Devas who are glorifying you. You also showed me the Asuras who are terrified of you because they will not worship you. They are afraid. They have done evil actions and they somehow want to escape the consequences of their karma by running away from you. Both are wrong. Even the Devas are wrong. They want to worship you, but with selfish interests. They just want, maybe now they want you. And as I told you, why the Asuras always won in the Puranas, it's very confusing. Why Asuras always win? Devas are panicking and they go to poor Shiva who has to save them. Then he will tell you, go to Vishnu, and then Vishnu will say, these are not cock and bull stories. This is how the world runs. The world is built on this plan. So here Arjuna, Sri Krishna is telling him that don't be like these Devas. Don't ask for all silly things, a little power, little wealth, and to solve your problem. Then you'll get stuck in that. So in that sense, you have to understand. It is very difficult to misunderstand these things, this particular thing. If you read Swami Vivekananda's complete works, you will also find surprising why he is praising strength more than goodness. Because strength is more important. Girish Ghosh could realize or could change because he was strong. He was a very strong person. One forgets that. What he did not do is not very important than the strength he had. So strength first, goodness next. Goodness is necessary, but not out of weakness. Some people are good because they are weak to do bad things. That Sri Krishna does not support, nor does Swami Vivekananda. You be good because you can struggle to maintain your goodness. If you have the strength and then be good, then that goodness is good. That is the right dharma. Whereas even if a person, for some reason, has gone into bad ways, but he, for the sake of strength, for the sake of support from the Lord, to get rid of all these things, if he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he prays, he will get rid of all these things. If he he says, Sri Krishna says he has taken a right decision. Okay. Any more questions? Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.